Good afternoon and evening, everyone, and welcome to Stamp Talks presented by the Royal Philatelic Society of Canada. Tonight we have Douglas Hill with one hill, different from Al Hills, who's more than one hill. We have Douglas Hill presenting on Canadian illustrated permits. Since Douglas returned to stamp collecting in 2020, he has done several live presentations at local stamp clubs and 3 Zoom presentations for the RPSC. Thank you, Douglas. He has also published about half a dozen articles in philatelic journals. His main Canadian collections include Philatelic, Philatelic Milestones, and Illustrated Permits. Douglas is currently a member of the RPSC. He is secretary of the West Toronto Stamp Club and is an active member of the Burlington Stamp Club. We would like to thank Longley Auctions, our sponsor, for Stamp Talks and Stamp Panels. Longley Auctions is a public auction firm specializing in selling Canadian postal history, large worldwide collections, stamps, postcards, and philatelic literature. So be sure to check out longleyauctions.com. And now we will have our land acknowledgement. If you will give me a moment to share my screen.
Other organizations in Canada, the Board of Directors of the Royal Philatelic Society of Canada has chosen to acknowledge Indigenous peoples in Canada with the following statement. As a step towards reconciliation, the RPSC acknowledges that our national office in Toronto stands on the traditional territory of many First Nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. Our national office is also covered by Treaty 13 and the Williams Treaties. Furthermore, we acknowledge that Indigenous peoples did not give up the lands that they had been on for thousands of years that now constitute Canada. We also acknowledge that Europeans did not discover Canada or arrive on an uninhabited land. The RPSC acknowledges that Canada is covered by many treaties and modern lands, resources, and self-government agreements with Indigenous peoples, and that the provisions of many of these arrangements remain unfulfilled. The RPSC further acknowledges that many Indigenous peoples in Canada have not had their rights fully recognized and implemented according to the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. The RPSC pledges to promote recognition and knowledge of Indigenous peoples in Canada and elsewhere and their cultures through philately. We will also work towards building positive relationships with Indigenous peoples in Canada.
Okay, thanks, Greg. And now, without further ado, I'll give the time over to Douglas.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Can you see my screen?
No, you'll have to share it again.
I got to share it again. Oh, okay. Then I'll have to. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I don't know how to share it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Just a sec. I've got to get, okay, somewhere at the bottom here. And I need to go full screen with this, and then I can share my screen. There it is. That one. And
oh, it's coming. It's coming. It's loading.
And then okay. I've now gone to slideshow. Is that?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
You're good to go.
Thank you. So I'm talking about collecting Canadian illustrated permits. And so we have on the left here is the permit part of it, and on the right is the illustration. So this is part of the story of Canadian bulk mail. The main idea of any kind of bulk mail is that the mailer gets a cheaper mailing rate because the post office saves the cost of canceling each cover. These items are already canceled and do not need to be canceled again. So here's the history of pre-canceled for Canada. The first pre-canceled stamps were back in the days of Queen Victoria, and the last one was just 1979. The second phase in bulk mailing was the postal meters from 1923, continuing to the present. The magazines I receive today are metered magazines. And then the permits go back to 1903. The regular permits started back then, and then we now have the illustrated permits from 2006. So here's an example of some examples of the regular permits. Some of them have chevrons and some don't. They've all got a customer number like that one and that one. They all say Canada Post. Some of them have here's the French version. Port de retour guarantee, return postage guaranteed. So this is the French first. And the French first is here. That was mailed in Quebec. This is the same sort of thing with the English first. So you've seen lots of these. So here is an illustrated permit. It is a stamp-like. It's valid for bulk mailing up to 1 ounce or 30 grams within Canada. The template is designed by Canada Post. Simulated perforations are included in the template. The template may be resized up or down about 30% by the end user, and it's printed on the envelope, and there's no denomination because it's understood that it only applies to 1 ounce in Canada. The left-hand side is the permit part. It's bilingual, English first in this case, and French second when it's mailed in English Canada and vice versa, mailed in Quebec. There's always a customer number, such as this one. Here's the customer number. It must be in a sans serif font. And the newer designs have this thing, which is we call the two-dimensional code. The illustration is on the right-hand side. It's chosen by the mailer, but of course it must be approved by Canada Post because it must be socially acceptable. This is the best reference source. The BNAP's website, under online resources and exhibits, they have this online resource, Illustrated Permits by Earl Covert. Earl created this website with a lot of inputs from many people, and he unfortunately passed away in 2025 after many years of service to Philatelic. And the website has a good introduction to illustrated permits. I'm going to tell you a bit more than they do. It's got an online display of at least 8,000 illustrated permits and organized by the name of the mailer. And even more important, there are 900 customer numbers are known and they're listed. So illustrated permits started in 2006, but they only became popular in 2013 when Canada Post improved the terms of use. They made them financially attractive to the mailers. And this thing on the left is just a notice that has appeared in some of the Unitrade specialized catalogs. They basically say, we don't catalog these things. Here are some permits, but we don't catalog them. There are 3 basic layouts of these permits. This is called the horizontal layout, which might also be called landscape because the illustration is a landscape. Here the illustration is in the portrait mode, which is also called vertical. And then the tall one is kind of a unified design. Let's look more closely at the horizontal permits. So there are always 16 peaks on the vertical edge. The permit itself has 12 peaks, and there are 21 peaks for the illustration. Now, these things may be resized up or down by 30%. They can be resized to any extent. So saying what the perf count is doesn't really mean anything. You just resize it and you get a different count. So when we characterize these, we can't say the perf count is so much for 2 centimeters. Here's the layout for the vertical ones. Same number of peaks on the permit, and then the vertical or portrait is only 12 peaks wide. Here are the layouts for tall permits. There are different, it's pretty similar. There's a logo on the left here and a couple of pictures on the right. This is called the two-dimensional code barcode. And this one here has this customer number, and this one has this customer number. That is number ending in 527 is the Canada Post customer number. So these both came from the Details magazine that was mailed out to us. There are 4 types of illustrations. So on the left, we have a cute graphic, this graphic of this cute little cat. It also appears on the semi-postal stamp B26. There's a logo on this one. The top right, we have a picture. This is from one of the nature organizations. And the bottom left, the illustration is a logo and text for CAA. So how are we going to collect permits? Do we collect them as the whole cover or the top half or just the permit? Well, many friends have given me just cut off the corner and say, here's the permit. But then I don't know who sent it except when I look up the customer number. So it's really better to collect more of the information. But on this particular cover, all the information is at the top half, and the bottom half down here contains nothing worth saving. So this one I would save in this format here. So I saved the top half of the envelope. And this is what is recommended on the Covert website. Save the top half. Here are some permits that I got where I didn't get the whole envelope. And so the question is, what are these? What are these? What organization is this with this number and the same for this one and these two? And you go to the Covert website on BNAPS, and you get using the customer number, you find out what it is. So this one is Amplifon Canada. They sell hearing aids. This is D for Diabetes Canada. This is the CNIB with, I guess, presumably they're featuring a guide dog. And the Alzheimer's Society is down here. So I had 46 unidentified permits. And when I went on the list of customer numbers, I found 43 of the 46. So that list of customer numbers is pretty complete, and it's very handy. So here's another example. This is a commercial permit from the Big Yellow Bag Company. So the pictures here, here, and here are the same, but this one's a different picture. And there are other features that are different. This says return postage guaranteed, and the same in French. Same here, but this one has written it out as one long message, and they've got the initials down the side. These have got the customer number above the 2D design, like this one, the customer number is to the right of the 2D design. This one, the customer number is here, and the 2D graphic is at the bottom left. So these are all collectible varieties. It's the same company, but there are 4 varieties. Now there are mailing houses who do some of this mailing for you. So look at the red where this is. Yeah, there, sorry. Excuse me. I've circled in red this number, and it's the same as this number. This number is the mailing is neighbors multiple addresses. So this is one of the many generic mailing houses doing the mailings for multiple clients. The vertical numbers in blue could be client numbers, although I'm not sure. And finally, I want you to notice that this one and this one were put side by side on the scanner and scanned together. And look at the difference in size. It's the same design, but the size is different. This illustrates that you can resize these things up and down as much as you want. There are 4 classes of bulk mailers. Some of the bulk mailers are medical charities, such as diabetes. There are other charities, such as food banks. There are not-for-profits, such as Ontario Nature, and there are commercials, such as the one we've already seen. Here's some more illustrated permits for the non-commercial classes. Here's the CNIB. Once again, they probably have a dog representing a seeing eye dog, and then the information about what the organization is. This one was sent to my wife, Joan Hill, the triple matching gift offer from Heart and Stroke. So the ×3 on the illustration means that if my wife gives them $100, somebody will give them 200 more, and her donation will have the effect of $300. And the one at the bottom is from the Royal Botanical Gardens, and they have a nice picture here and some text. And I love this picture here. This is a little boy, the face of a little boy, and on his nose, there's a butterfly. Yeah. Here are some more illustrated permits for Canadian commerce. Costco, top left. Zoomer magazine, it's a form of commerce. On the right here, we have Holt. HR is in fact Holt Renfrew, the fur company. You've seen this one before, and this is CAA, which CAA called themselves a club, but I think they're more commercial than a club of volunteers. So let's do some counting. I took 144 different illustrated permits. They were received in my mail, and I want to thank Gary Douglas and Sid Mensinga, who have both given me lots of illustrated permits. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's look at the data. So the medical charities, here are some examples, Heart and Stroke, CNIB, and so forth. There are 20 different organizations from medical charities, and we have 51 varieties so far of their illustrated permits. Other charities and nonprofits, food banks, Royal Botanical Garden, and so forth, 16 different mailing organizations and 43 varieties so far. Commercial, the same idea, 16 mailers and 24 varieties. Canada Post is just one mailer, and so far I have got 20 different designs of illustrated permits from them. And this is the latest collection. I said I identified almost all of them, but no, when only the permit is received, I have leftover. I have 5 permits with 6 varieties, but I do not know who the sender is. So now let's look at a different question. The illustrated permits on these 4 examples are all the same. It's all the food banks of Mississauga. The difference is the color of the envelope, the background color of the envelope. And I like these colors. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 different envelope designs. So does this count as a variety? Is the envelope design collectible? Well, it's your choice as to whether or not you want to collect it, but I think it is. And the covert listings do distinguish by the envelope design. So that's another reason, another kind of variety that you can look for. Here's some early formats. These ones were called addressed ad mail. There's 3 examples of addressed ad mail. Here, and here. The 2 earlier ones don't have the 2D barcode. This one has no barcode, neither does this, but this one does. There's a second early format called letter mail. Here are 2 examples. Here's a letter mail and a letter mail with the same in French. And once again, these were the older designs, so they don't have the 2D barcode. The personalized mail in the horizontal formats, here are 3 examples. I think these are some pretty designs, here, and here. And this arrangement here, where you have the 2D code under the customer number, that arrangement started in the year 2021, and more people are moving towards using that arrangement of the number and the code. One of the older formats is this one. The chevrons are allowed. They're optional on postal templates since 2016, but we're not seeing many of them anymore. Almost all of the illustrated permits are printed on the envelope, but here are some examples that aren't. These are adhesive labels. The Canadian Red Cross has always used, and as far as we know, it only uses the adhesive labels. And here you can see this is an adhesive label because you can see the edge. I'm drawing the line across the edge of the label. You can see it here, at least I hope you can see it here. Similarly, Amnesty International, they have a stick-on label with an edge shown here. But these are a small minority. Occasionally, there are color differences. So when we compare this one with this one, there's a color difference. This is a medium blue, this is a purple, this is an orange, and this is a red-orange. Interestingly, the same color difference shows up on the D over here on the senior discovery tour. So this D is the same color as this one, and this D is the same, pardon me, this D is the same color as this one. So I think it was, well, that's understandable since it's going through the same printer. Now I'm going to tell you what happened when I counted the address mail. So this is a count of 3 months worth of address mail received at my home, addressed to me or my wife. There's 2 of us receiving mail. The first type is the philatelic mail. I got covers from stamp dealers. I've received over 3 months, I've received 18 covers from stamp dealers, including eBay. And on the 18 covers, there were 75 stamps. Meter marks appeared, 25 meter marks appeared on various magazines over 3 months. I got some 20 letter mail permits. I got 17 personalized mail permits. I got 7 personalized mail illustrated permits. But in 3 months, I only got 3 stamps on my non-philatelic mail. I'm getting about 1 stamp a month on my non-philatelic mail. And I did a subtotal here excluding the stamp dealers. And the reason for this is that I'm asking the question, what might a person who isn't a stamp collector, what might they get on their mail? And to get the answer, you cross off the top line, they're not a stamp collector. And maybe these numbers are similar to what they might get. And guess what? I'm getting twice as many illustrated permits as I am getting stamps. So that's one reason why I thought it would be worth collecting illustrated permits. The Canada Post Details magazine has sent out some lovely examples. This issue of the Details magazine, yeah, here it is. This issue, Details November 2022, honor the Quebec actress. They show this, they illustrate this stamp in the magazine, and they've taken the black and white image of her face and put it onto the illustrated permit. Here's another example, Details, February, March 2022. This Details has this image of the souvenir sheet for this particular pair of stamps. But look what they've done with the illustrated permit. The illustrated permit has now captured the illustration on the side of the spread, pardon me, the souvenir sheet. So they've decided to do something different here. So when you collect illustrated permits, you can get varieties of this form. There's a large unknown number of issuers. The varieties can be the horizontal, the vertical, or the tall template. You can have the varieties in the presence and the location of the 2D barcodes. There's variation in the presence and location of return to sender and the RTS codes. You can collect different envelope background colors, and you can collect shades of the permit colors. I showed you one example of the shade that changed. Illustrated permits, what do they lack? Well, there's no cancels or date stamps on any cover. That's because for bulk mail, there's no cancellation. So what do? I record the date received in pencil on the back of the illustrated permit in case I may need to know what it was. There are no varieties in the perf count or the paper or the gum, unlike stamps. You only get singles. Unlike stamps, you can't collect panes, booklets, or souvenir sheets. You also don't find out about the printer, the issue date, and the quality and the quantity issued. These are all unknown. And finally, there's no catalog, but the online BNAPS listings provide an excellent equivalent to a catalog. So why do I collect illustrated permits? Well, they're stamp-like permits, valid for postage. They all show Canada Post, Post Canada, or the winged mail logo from Canada Post. The simulated perforations are printed in the template, but they make them look like stamps. I collect them because my daily address mail might contain more illustrated permits than stamps. I collect them because this is a new field. It's really only been developing since 2013, and there's a lot still to be done. I say they're easy to find. They're not that easy to find because I'm not getting enough, so you have to ask friends and family to collect them for you. They're inexpensive to purchase, but to my knowledge, no dealer has started offering these yet. I talked to one dealer and we indicated that maybe if the illustrated permits were priced at $3 each, then that would be low enough for me to be willing to buy it, and it would be high enough for the dealer to make it worthwhile for the dealer to save them for me. There's an unlimited number of image designs, and all the different layouts are collectible features. So this is why I collect illustrated permits. And that's all I have to show you. So we're ready for questions or comments. And I'll leave this on in case you want to contact me. Here's my email address. I'll leave this on for a while.
Thank you, Douglas. That's excellent. What a great introduction to Canadian illustrated permits. Uh, I think that when I look at myself, when I see mail come in the door, I do save a lot, but I find that I may not have paid close attention to it uh, as you have, and I sure will start doing that now. Let's see if we have any questions in our Q&A.
Yeah.
Thomas said that these would have to go undergo an approval process by Canada Post, correct?
Yes,
What
yes, that's
what
correct.
what are the design restrictions? And since these require official approval, they should be acceptable in an exhibit, correct?
Uh, I think they're acceptable in an exhibit. I don't know the rules for design approval, but you can see that they obviously have to have some approval to make sure that it is socially acceptable. We don't want any Canadian illustrated permits that are racist or have hate speech in them, for example. But apart from that sort of concern, I don't know what the approvals are.
And Stephen has said that he has seen illustrated permits from the 1940s. Have you seen any of these? These ones I have are from Montreal Light and Power.
No, no, I've not seen those. Montreal Light and Power. Wow, that's uh, I hope you can email me with more information. Stephen, email me with more information about, or maybe even send me a scan of that. I'd love to see it.
Al, I just want to mention, so Earl passed away last year, but his daughter Cindy is actually carrying on with the maintaining the database, the online database on the BNAP's website. So Douglas, if you have any permits that are not on the database, I mean, if you have time, it'd be great to send them to Cindy and she can add them to the database.
Yeah, you're right. I think I mentioned this in my talk that Cindy has taken over, and I also mentioned that when I check and find that I have one that's not on their database, I do in fact scan it and send it to Cindy because I want to help build the database.
I actually collected these during the pandemic because there were a lot of the illustrations had COVID related imagery. So people with face masks on, or there'd be printing on the envelope itself, not even just on the permit. So I collected quite a few of them through the pandemic years. But I have at one point I was collecting them, but it was just getting to be uh, taking up a lot of space, and I didn't think I was going to do anything with them. So I kept the COVID ones and a few other ones related to my topics, but I sent the bulk of them to Earl because I didn't really have time to scan them either. So I just sent them to Earl.
Oh, come on. I wanted you to scan them and send them to me.
But now I
Okay.
know you collect them, Douglas. So maybe I'll send them to you and you can scan them for Cindy.
Oh, okay. Yep. I'll scan them. I save scans for my own collection as well as sending them on. Yeah. Thank you very much, Gene.
Douglas, Greg has asked, are illustrated permits as prominent in other countries?
I have no idea. I have not looked for any, and I have not seen any by accident. So maybe somebody else who's watching can tell me. For example, do the Americans have something like this? I don't know.
Interesting. Your email address has been placed in the chat, and so if anyone needs to contact you, you can certainly do that through the chat. Douglas, I'd like to thank you very much for your presentation tonight, and It may be a possibility for a start to a new area of Canadian collecting and exhibiting for some of our participants. Now, before we close this evening, we would like to acknowledge the lands we are on, and thank you again to Longley Auctions. Please visit longleyauctions.com and maybe you can find some postal history, or perhaps there may be some illustrated permits for your collection and exhibit. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Please join us next week as the panelists will explore their favorite go-to research publications, literature, and websites. Have a great evening.
Bye-bye.